You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Do us a favor, like and subscribe and comment on the video. Subscribe to the podcast on the audio podcatchers and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but it helps keeps all of this free. If you want more than that, you can join the Insiders program and the Subtech links down below. No trolls, 14-day free trial, and the easiest way to cancel ever. Give it a try. And don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Nearly every team, college and pro, is ready for you. Now, this one is pretty interesting to me because it's time to get into the keys of what's going on in this game. And Ole Miss and Kentucky, there are certain things that are non-negotiables, if we're going to be honest about it. Ole Miss moving the sticks and staying on the field is going to be paramount in this game. Kentucky wants to play a shortened game. When Kentucky and Vanderbilt plays, there could be 7 possessions on offense for both sides. This one's probably going to be closer to 9 or 10, but it normally is around 13. So it's 3 less times that you are likely going to see the ball. So moving the sticks and staying on the field, it's going to be paramount in this shortened game, because the worst thing you can do is go 3 and out, spend 19 seconds, and they drive the ball down the field and take more time off the clock. Even when they go 3 and out and have to punt, it's going to take 2 minutes off the clock. It just is. The way they play football, it's going to take 2 minutes. So if you're taking 15 seconds, it's going to be a problem. Just remember, a couple of years ago, Tennessee won the game, okay? Tennessee won this game, but they had 15 minutes of time of possessions. It was just, instead of quick 3 and outs, it was quick touchdowns. Kentucky was able to hold the ball and get on the other side, but they weren't able to win the game. They actually lost a very close one. Tennessee was explosive enough to win. You need to pay attention to what's going on there. Drive the ball, quick passes, all of that's going to be very important. Second of all, Austin Simmons channeling Matt Corral and throwing short to open up the deep ball in the second half is going to be very important. I think that is very big for Ole Miss. The tight ends and the receivers catching the ball within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage early in the game to make those safeties look forward, to get those guys ready to come forward. So they bite on pump fakes. They bite on double moves. They bite on the run game. This year, Ole Miss should have a run game that they could throw at the Kentucky Wildcats, including Kewan Lacy and Logan Diggs and Damien Taylor. All 3 of those could look similar to 2020. But Austin Simmons channeling that Matt Corral and throwing short early to open up the deep ball later, that's going to be a paramount part of this game. And also play a clean game, as turnovers will have a lot more value in this shortened game that Kentucky wants. And a turnover isn't just turning over the ball via fumble or interception. It's also turning it over on downs. A turnover on downs. You hear that saying. Respect every drive, get every point that you can get. Odds are, if you get 20 points in this game, you are going to win it. You know it's a race to 20, so try to get to that point until you do, essentially, because it is going to be a slog of a game. Now, Lane Kiffin talked about in his Sunday presser that he had been working on the Kentucky Wildcats for about a year. And there's a ton of staffers in there. Nothing's going without. They're just focusing on the Kentucky Wildcats, and they need to, if we're going to be honest about it. Because if you look at what Kentucky does, they play cloud coverage over the top, and they stop the run. And they dare you to throw for explosive plays. Ole Miss fell directly into the trap a year ago. And this isn't a slam on Jackson Dart or anything like that. But Trey Harris had 11 catches for 175 yards out of about 250 total. And about 40 of that 75 yards, other than Trey Harris, was on a 4th down heave to Caden Prescorn at the end of the game. It was basically Jackson Dart to Trey Harris in that game. And there was nothing else. Not a anything else that you can do. Ole Miss has to avoid that trap. And I think they can get there by playing clean, channeling Matt Corral, and basically valuing every possession they get. It should be a really interesting thing. I'm looking forward to see if Ole Miss can actually do this, because if you look at Matt Corral in 2020, he was 24-29, 320 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions. That is by far the best game that Ole Miss has had against the Kentucky Wildcats. When you look at Jackson Dart, about 200 yards in the first game, an interception and a touchdown. And in the second game, he threw for 250, but like I said, there was the heave at the end of the game and the missed field goal and all that. Ole Miss has won 2 out of 3, but there's been 7 games decided by a total. 3 games decided by a total of 7 points. 1 point in the 2020 game, and then 3 in the 22 game, and 3 in last year's game as well. I'm curious to see exactly what happens. I think that Austin is built for this game. It's just a sneaking suspicion thing. I'm leaning towards blowout right now, the way it sits. This is a different team than faced the Kentucky Wildcats a year ago. They do different stuff well. They run the ball better than they did with Henry Parrish at running back a year ago because of the offensive line and all of that stuff. There was a lot of receivers that caught balls in the first game. That's different than the Trey Harris thing when Ole Miss played basically into the trap of Mark Stoops. Listen, and this is pretty simple. Everybody that wants to enjoy a football game, whenever every play that is consistent in your game is to one player, and everybody on the other team knows that you're going to target that one player, and you're not even making really an effort to target anybody else, they're going to take away that player. It doesn't matter how good that player is. They're going to be able to stop it because they don't have to worry about the other players on the field, whether, whoever is playing those positions. Looking at this year, a lot more people are catching the football, which means you're not going to be able to do that, which is going to kind of take away double teams at times. And then if you can run the ball a little bit, I think you're going to put up points in bunches, honestly. I'm not as worried about this game as I was even a year ago because of the duck and chuck that was the propensity of the Ole Miss offense to play. This year it feels a lot more where you can pick out different receivers and different stuff, and there's the willingness to complete passes under 10 yards, not the duck and chuck type stuff. So we'll see exactly how that goes. And those are the keys to the game, and we'll see exactly how they go. In our final segment, practice insiders say that Ole Miss is looking a lot sharper on the offensive line heading into Kentucky. That would be welcome news after where the Rebels were whipped against the Wildcats last season. What's different this time, and what should you be watching for on Saturday? We'll break all of that down right after this. I'm going to be on the Amazon show on Thursday. I filmed a segment for that today, and they asked me, am I concerned about Kentucky? And I was like, concern's not the right word. I think Ole Miss is, by factor of touchdowns, better than Kentucky. But nervous after a year ago, it makes a little sense. Nervous is okay. Concern, no. I'm not gonna deal with concerned in this game. But nervous, I can see it. And that's kind of where we are. Tomorrow we will have Lance Daw with our Know Your Enemy segment talking about the Kentucky Wildcats. Tomorrow night we'll have Vinny Hardy talking about the Kentucky Wildcats, 2 Kentucky people talking over the course of Thursday. Friday we'll have the Why Ole Miss Wins, Michael Katz in the evening, and then we'll have the pregame show with Tom Vanderford before we start our game day routine as well. So thank you very much for tuning in. Thanks for making August an unbelievable month to where we broke the all-time August record for views for Locked On Ole Miss by like 35,000 views. and that was over last year where Ole Miss went to the playoffs. So I'm pretty jacked up about that as well. Anyway, thanks for making Locked On Ole Miss your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves in offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the front door of Ole Miss. If you don't believe me, Google Ole Miss Podcast and see how much we come up. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the show. It's completely free. Your support means the world to us. And it's another big moment on Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV are presenting College Football Kickoff, the ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation a long time. Two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson and former college star Jesse Holley and Locked On's local expert. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Hotty toddy, everybody, and remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you tomorrow.